Hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. It's Friday. There's only one other thing to do on a Friday, and that's listen to us. We've got our special guests here. My partners actually. We've got Karen and we've got Islam, and we've got a very special guest. We've got Paul, and he's going to talk all about explosive. What is it? Explosive strength today.
Yeah, strength, power, you're all the same.
So it's lovely to have you on again, Paul. You're becoming you're coming on quite a few times now, so it's lovely to have you again.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys, for having me on, letting me gate crush your party. Feel privileged.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
The problem is, Paul, that I've got to remember 3 names instead of just 2 now. So that's my dilemma. So it's going to be a great one for me. I'm going to go away holding my head. So today is I've just been listening off air. We were just before we came on the show, and Islam was out with your wife this morning running, Paul, as well. Out.
Yeah. She left me this morning bright and early. She woke up at 4:40, and all she was saying is Islam. Oh, Islam. That's all she was saying. So.
You've been out this morning already, and because it got too hot, you're going to go out and do another 10K later.
Yeah, it was like 94% humidity this morning and 40 degrees heat. So I didn't manage to finish the whole long run. So I did 10K in the morning. I was supposed to do 20. So I'm going to go out again and do another 10 in the evening. And it was a good surprise. Like Sarah was like, you have a podcast today with my husband. I was like, Paul, and she's like, yes, like such a small world. It's a very good surprise. Yeah. Very small, man.
It's such a small world. Honestly, I was on Facebook yesterday with my school friends, and we were all talking about our past. And then there was a lady that came up on the feed, and she said, "Oh, are you in Qatar, Steve? I saw in your feed you're in Qatar. I'm in Qatar too." And she was
No way.
No way. And she's in Qatar. And she wasn't in my year, but she was. I know this is a bit sad, and I'm taking the thing down. But my sister died in a car accident, and she was very good friends with my sister. So it was a really nice thing. And Facebook is a wonderful thing. Nice. Thank you for Facebook Live. Yeah. So it gives us the opportunity. Yeah. Small world, and we're going to meet up and have a coffee when it's over. So yeah. So we're talking about, and Karen, I know this is very close to you, strength and conditioning as well today. So you're really interested in what we're going to talk about. Paul, you're a professor in all, and you said to us, don't call me Dr. Paul. No, sorry, Dr.
Paul.
No.
It sounds so good.
No, it sounds good, but it's not good. Paul is perfect. My parents love the name Paul so much. They didn't put a doctor in front of it.
Fair enough.
I am glad you ordered. You organised me to have an interview with Radzi, and he was talking so well of you. And you are a legend, and same as these 2 guys. You're out there, and people keep on asking me, and I'm sorry to do this before we start, but people are asking me, what is In the Game all about? A sports podcast. What is it all about? Well, I'll tell you very simply. It's about people that go out there and they put their life and soul into sports, and they put their life into sports and to other people. And there is, on this podcast today, are perfect examples of what they're doing for other people. They go out on a daily basis. They're helping people achieve their goals. They're pushing them. They're encouraging them. They're doing everything. And they're also talent spotting. So that's what In the Game does. It's there to help people like you, to encourage you to get back into fitness, or to listen to something that these guys are going to say that's going to inspire you, impulse you to go and do something yourself. So that's what we're all about. We've had some wonderful guests, and 3 on the show today. So Paul, I'm going to give it over to you. Tell us about your sprinting career and how you started with sprinting.
Well, actually, I came into sprinting as a fullback, really. So my initial background was I tried to become a professional footballer, and was in an academy set up a bit like Troy Tanzan, a bit like when I was listening to his one. And everyone tells you you're going to make it. And then I had a back injury from the age of probably about 14, and it's still actually with me. And I just couldn't last matches. So then the academy would not use me for matches, and eventually they binned me out around, they binned me around 18. And then I took to sprinting because I was naturally quite fast, and that's what made me a better footballer. Not because I was an amazing skills player, but I was very, very quick, able to time my tackling, could read the game very well. So that's how I came into track and field.
And you've got a pretty impressive time when it comes to 100 meters, right?
Yeah, on paper, yes, but actually training time was actually a lot better. But mentally, I couldn't quite translate what I was doing in training to the track to actually competition mode. So training, I finished off at 10:48, but actually in practice and in training, everything, my time was normally heading into the 10:1s. So it's quite frustrating that people I would train with will actually beat me on competition day because I just couldn't handle my emotions, anxieties leading up to it, which is a massive part of it, because there are some people actually without the talent, but they're so strong that they gain a lot on competition day. So yeah, so I should have actually put down a much better time, and hence the reason why I kept on going on every year. I said, right, next year I'll sort it, next year I'll sort it. And eventually kind of mother time took its toll on me a bit.
And you say about the it's all about the you were good at the technique side of things, but how important is it in athletes, and you two can fill in on this question as well. How important is it from a mental game as well? How
I would actually put, do you know, because I've come across a whole heap of athletes, talent, because we have, like, take the UK, we have a lot of world juniors that don't quite translate into senior level, because they basically gain a lot at the early days where they are able to physically bully it. And then there's a technical aspect of it, and then there is the dedication aspect of it, which distance runners are amazing at. And then there is the actual mental side of it, whereas I've had people like one of my good friends I'm trying to get on is James. And James came into the sport relatively quite late, but mentally he was quite religious. So he believed it was him and God. And that side of it actually overweighed whatever his physical capabilities were. And clearly he must have been incredibly talented as well, gene-wise, but they picked it up quite late. And he's finished up with 991. So I think the mental side of it is massive. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's kind of yeah. And you guys, how important is it for you in your endurance? How is it that mental side of it? I know we spoke about this before.
It's everything, really. I mean, you can't get through a race if you're not mentally prepared to finish that and get across the line. You just can't. Like, you'll be out in the first section in the swim. Like, if you think about what's coming up next, you just got to push and drive it, really.
Yeah.
And that's part of the training. You train for that. Like, that's why you're increasing up your distance every week and increasing your skills and getting better and stronger. And you're doing the intervals. You do all of that to prepare yourself and get yourself ready for a race. Absolutely.
And what you're doing, and I'm seeing your stuff that you're doing at the moment, Hisham. Hisham, I'm going to say now. Here we go. See, I told you I'd get it wrong with the name.
Okay.
You're going to watch my eyes. I've just been told by somebody that I'm not smiling enough. So firstly, I'm going to start smiling a lot more. And I'm looking at the big on it, I'm trying to kind of look at those different things. And Hisham, I've just noted it because Hisham wasn't with us last week. He overslept. So that's a bad.
My cat.
So, Islam, you're doing a lot of this stuff at the moment, and I know that everybody's calling you crazy. How are you pushing yourself? How are you from a mental perspective? Is it draining?
So basically, I've had a long history with injuries. I always wanted to be a good runner, but I've been running for 4 years, but I never was. I wouldn't call myself a good runner. I wanted to do long distances, and then injury got in the way. So I have a long history with training, right? So this time, what is different now? So I started my latest training period back in February, and I believe what is different now is I learned how to really take it easy and aim for the long term and not push myself too much behind my limits, because normally in training, and like when it comes to physical training, we tend to push ourselves, we're too excited, but things don't always go like that. You can do 15K, but today you have to do 10. Today you have to do 5. So It's not about what you can do, it's about what you should do, right? So since February until today, I've been building. I just posted something yesterday about my weekend training. So yesterday I had the 3-hour stair climbing. Today I had the 20K run, and tomorrow I have a 2.5 hour ride. And I just said, because it can be easy, you know, to be fooled by these numbers, you know. But I believe you shouldn't look at the numbers, look at the journey. How long did it take me to come from where I was? You know, my long run was 5K before, right? So how long it took me from where I was to where I am now? When you take it easy, you listen, you do the right thing, you execute right, and then it's automatic that you're going to get to this level. So I don't think I'm a great athlete because I'm doing what I'm doing now. I think it's just it's like simply commitment to your training program and not pushing yourself beyond your limits and listening to your coach, because they know better, and that's it. So it's very simple. It's simple math. You commit, you train, you do the work, you're gonna get there. It doesn't matter how great or how long your race is, you can always get there. You just need to listen and execute.
Paul, on saying that, you've been a coach, you've been in Loughborough University and teaching people how to do these things, and you're the coach side of things. You told me this morning you like to keep in the background. What are the things that you tell your students, and especially from a strength in that power with what you do?
I think I 100% agree with Islam. I think you have to basically, it's a journey, and that's the key, because I think when you initially try to push it too quickly, especially without understanding who the athlete is or what their history has been, the only thing that will happen is straight away injuries. Injuries will kick in right away. So I think it is that journey. And I always say, and I think it's one of the classic mistakes where a good athlete will run very well this season and they think that they have to up it by 10%, when actually a half a percentage or a percentage kind of increment is all they need to actually get a better output. Whereas they go crazy either on the strength side, they go crazy on the speed side, they go crazy on the speed endurance side. So I totally agree. I think you have to set yourself that kind of timeline for each athlete, understand them, especially in the early years or the early months, or however your projected kind of time scale is, and then work progressively every year to try to just tick things off without getting injured. Because if you don't get injured, that's the name of the game. Every year you will increase.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because it's just struck home to me, because I spoke to a lot of people recently, and again, the injuries is exactly what ruins their career. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
How did sorry, Karen, and your type of thing, how important it is for your students that you drum this into them?
Yeah, I mean, with new clients, and there's definitely a long period of working out what they're capable of, seeing their movement patterns, basic movement patterns, really going through very basic things. You know, even if they've got some experience with strength and conditioning and doing strength work, and just working out what's not going to injure them so we can move them forward. That's just a lot of what I spend, like initial part of my job is just looking and assessing and coming up with a plan and periodization and, you know, all of that thing to get them forwards and progressing and doing well.
No, that's really good. Paul, tell us about, and I'm sorry that we've jumped straight in. Tell us about what you did at Loughborough University and how your career went into, you came into teaching people.
Okay, cool. So I went to Loughborough in 99. So I went to Loughborough in 99 with the sole purpose literally of getting there to do athletics, but typical African parents, they wanted me to do education. So I didn't have no choice but to make sure I go there to do automotive, which they were so disappointed, because their classic go-to things is you have to be a doctor, you have to be an accountant. So the classic, which I did engineering. And luckily for me, Loughborough was amazing for #1 for engineering and also #1 for sports. But my whole objective was to literally become a world champion or an Olympian. So I went there, did very little work and just trained all the time. So weights, it's weight track session, conditioning session. And then towards the back end, when I realized that pretty much I was going to come to an end and I had quite a lot of workload for my PhD, I started to actually take on a lot more coaching away from just athletics. And I was working with the first team footballers, coaching the two. So I was working strength and conditioning first team, doing the management job for the twos. And as well as that, I had the volleyball girls that I was helping out on the side. And I had my track and field athletes. So I got more into it because one thing I really enjoy is basically getting someone new and dissecting them to figure out what you need to actually put on, because everyone is different. Some people need endurance, some people need conditioning, some people need a bit of strength. And it's just basically figuring out that process. And I think that's the key to it. So yeah, so that's how basically I got heavily into the coaches. And I've been quite fortunate. I've been coached by really good coaches. And I've had the privilege of watching a lot of good coaches in Loughborough. So you start to slowly just pick up on what is good or what fits your personality, how you're engaging with the athletes, how you talk to the athletes, which is a key role, I think, when you look at the success of a lot of athletes. So some amazing coaches may only ever produce one athlete because they've got such a beautiful relationship with the athletes, and that actually plays an integral part. Because what you tend to get is you get athletes that do well with a coach early doors. They think that they need to move from that coach and go to a superstar coach. And then the athlete tanks because what they don't take into consideration is that coach actually knows them inside out. So whilst they may not be a superstar coach, has produced someone in the past, they're actually perfect for them. And this is what a lot of people actually, I think fail on. And it's so evident in the British setup. I'm not going to go into names. I don't want to get beaten.
I mean, there's that thing that, you know, any coach can have all of the knowledge in the world, but it's how that you can transfer that to your athlete. Like, do they understand what you're saying? Can you say it in a way that makes them do what you want them to do? And it could be locked up there, and you could have all of it, but it's getting it out, isn't it? I mean, we just with our friends, we have close bonds with friends, and we might know them for years, and we're like the tightest people. And that was also the same with a coach and an athlete. You know, you could just have people on the outside, and then you've just got your special few. You just really get.
I think it's got to be a magic between you, because sometimes if you've got your friends and you're trying to tell them something, they don't listen. They're not listening. Your kids don't listen. So it's got to be a certain kind of relationship between. That's why I must admit, I like you two, and you obviously, Paul, but I like you two because you kind of, over the period of time, you've just given me that advice that I can either take it or leave it. You haven't kind of just me taking on board what you've been saying. And that's what I think people are going to benefit from in the long run. So relationships is really, really important. I was also talking to somebody this week about footballers and how isolated professional footballers are, where they haven't got that relationship because most of the time they're spending on their own. Is that right, Paul? You know this more than us.
Yeah, it is. It is actually, because I had the privilege of actually doing a worldwide project for FIFA on football's artificial pitches and on futsal surfaces. It's fascinating actually, because those guys get in early morning around 7 to 8 o'clock, and this is just literally around the world wherever I've gone to. And they will have a bit of breakfast, then they will start to get themselves ready, go and get changed, and then they'll do the ball-based stuff. And then literally within 2 hours, those guys are gone. They go home and it's either to PlayStations or whatever they get up to, but that's it. And some of them don't really have that personal kind of relationships, again, with the coaches, or just observations. You just come in, you done. Whereas in the kind of world that we come from, your relationship with your coach is so crucial.
Everything.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to ask you, Paul, what do you think about like the introduction of so much technology and technological testing in sport now? Like, has it ruined athlete coach relationship for like the newer coaches, maybe not the old school ones?
I classify myself as old school because I love science, I love science. I love data. I'm constantly stuck on my Garmin watch with the pod and the Dynamics foot stride. But it's an interesting one because there was because when we went to Loughborough in 99, we didn't have an indoor center. It was back in the days where we trained outside it was freezing. It was wet. You warm up. You still got your tracks, big, massive, oversized track suits on. You're warming up. You're technically your own masseur because you had to manipulate your own body.
Right.
And then you fast forward like 10 years where someone is actually manipulating you before you go to track. So for me, people are actually not realizing how to look after their bodies. And I think that's why injuries modern day is so high. And I think then there was an article done actually in Loughborough. It was around the time that Paula Radcliffe was in Loughborough. And the Daily Telegraph in the UK did a fantastic piece where they spoke about how Paula Radcliffe and George Gandhi is one of the best distance coaches will crawl because the modern day athletes have never actually seen how hard Paula used to work. So you used to see the group where George Gandhi will have about 40 athletes, all different ability. They're running around. Paula is there chasing the men, and the men are trying to run away from her, and she's catching them. But it was all through hard work. So what the Daily Telegraph was saying is modern day athletes think lying on a physio bed or looking at data actually substitute the hard work. So Karen, I'm with you. I love science.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I personally happen to believe that I think science is great when you're top end. Bottom end, you just have to close your eyes, go out there and just slog it out. Go and get your strength and conditioning done. And I think that's the bit, the science in my eyes is actually ruining sports, and people will berate me for this, but I genuinely believe that. And I think when you look at injuries kind of occurrences in athletes, even in footballers, it's because they don't understand their own body parts. Whereas we had to manipulate, we had to stretch. I remember I used to watch a program called London Burn and do my kind of stretching development sessions. Like for an hour, I'll be in front just doing static holds. No one does that no more because a physio or a masseuse does that for them. And when we start to not feel quite correct, we don't understand why we're not feeling it. So, and then I think we measure so much. Like you've got people that are running, say, 10.4, and there's cameras on them measuring their stride length. And I'm just sat there going, no, save that until you're running 10.1. Yeah. So I love science. I love data. Like I'm heavily into Formula One, which is pure data driven. But I just think as a sportsman, there comes a time where actually Mo Farah is doing 120 miles a week for a reason, and it's proven that it works. You can't get away from that grit and hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. Good.
Absolutely.
By the way, let me just cut in there. Dr. Mufudi said he needs your help. He's got a problem with his belly now. So you've got to go do some training sessions with him. So he needs your help.
Steve, I love you.
You got a job. You got a job, Paul.
And this is because there's a knock-on effect, because Dr. Mahfood identified you, Paul, and saw your talents, and you saw talents of Radzi, and it's like it's a whole perpetual circle that goes around where people are helping each other, and that's and again, it's all about the podcast that we represent. It's like people like yourselves and how it all paid back to somebody else. So, so you've got to go and help him with his waistline.
Yeah, I think I'll probably pull Karen and Islam in with me.
Be happy to help.
It's strange because you're talking about your body. It's like I've got a yoga teacher, and that's all she says to me is listen to your body. Don't push yourself into moves that you can't you feel a stress. As soon as your body starts telling you, or your hands start shaking because you're in a pose or whatever, stop. It's like just let your body tell you what you're feeling. And I suppose that's what you're saying, exactly what you're saying, Paul. What are you doing in Qatar, Paul?
What am I doing in Qatar? Blame the wife.
She's watching. She's watching.
Okay, so 3 years ago, when both of us were just running around like headless chicken, and it's when my contract with FIFA was coming to an end and when the World Cup was announced, I actually had a way into working for the Qatar Federation, doing some of their work for them through contacts. And that's when my wife actually put the application in to work for Hamad. And we both turned it down because we decided to be crazy and have a third child when we should have stuck at 2. So we basically had a third child. We needed family support, so we decided to stay in the UK. And then Hamad came knocking on the door again, and we were both like, right, we need a change of life. We're fed up of working around the clock. We need to spend more time as a family. So we decided on Qatar.
That's good.
And okay,
It's a
so
good
I'm
place for
gonna
that.
lead you on. Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to lead you on from here, Paul. It's like what you feel that you've got to offer here in Qatar. What are the things that you want to get involved in right now?
It's interesting. Yeah, well, I'm technically meant to be working at Qatar University, so that's just going through the process, and which so I don't know what kind of how that's going to look. But ideally, one thing that really actually I miss for my kids more as well, and plus being in Qatar, you realize that a lot of children actually are not very active, especially the Qataris. So I don't know, I want to try and initiate something along the lines of the 2K, 5K park runs, but something that's potentially indoors and outdoor based for the summer months and the winter months, just to try and entice some of the locals. Because the other day, my wife was out running and she saw a bunch of young Qatari girls. And she was just like, oh, what a shame. She wished there was something available that she could pull them into, because they were running around. They looked amazing, but no one is actually going into them. So I think we both have the same kind of thing where we would like to actually potentially do something, but it just depends. It's all time based. So it just thoroughly depends on how we can maneuver our time schedule and whether she could get some time off with the hair hammered work.
Yeah.
I think that without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, sorry. You carry on, Karen.
No. So I was just going to just quickly on what you're saying about the youth. Like, is that something that you think is like across the world and across the board? There's like a, you know, I suppose more screen time now with children. Is there definitely like a correlation with reduction in activity just everywhere, or is it just maybe a Middle East thing?
No, 100% everywhere. But I think what you genuinely tend to get is if you take somewhere like the UK, the US, or even China, them kind of places where parents in the middle to top end, they actually realize that we need to get our kids active, and whether the kids like it or not, they tend to go to quite a good private school. But in the private schools have got the whole kind of sports program on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But here, more the lifestyle is quite a bit about the chilling. It's about the chilling, and it's about the relaxation, and it's about the kind of laid back kind of mentality. So when I used to, before the lockdown, we'll go to the park and the whole family will be sat around like a barbecue and enjoying it. So there isn't that real, from my perception of just from observation, there isn't that real drive to get the children there. And I think the children will enjoy, like some of the Try series, you saw some of the younger Qatari men, amazing kit, like nice watches, nice kits, nice bikes. Half of them don't even know how to operate their watches and that kind of stuff, but they've got the kit. So probably from their generation, their children are going to look at them and go, "Oh, mummy and daddy are actually very active."
Yeah.
So I think because the UK is trying to do something similar, where they're saying, right, forget the older generation, forget the middle end, let's attack the children. Let's try to
focus on the children. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's the key. Yeah. I think that would be the key here, just to break out of that cycle a bit of the comfort phase. And actually, I think the children would genuinely enjoy it.
I think so. Make it really fun and play-based.
Yes.
Need to create like some interest, you know, like the kids, and instead of like because most of the kids now, like in their spare time, they would go to the mall, do some shopping, you know, walking around, you know. Some of them start to go to the parks, but I guess if we can create like an alternative where kids can actually go and enjoy like an environment, where they can go and actually enjoy their time while doing sport, I think that can help them. And the problem is, like when you as you said, when you focus on the kids from an early age, it's kind of like plant that into their hearts and minds. So it's hard to take it away from them when they grow up. But it becomes very hard when they grow up to become like, you know, 20, 25 years old. It's harder to bring them back to that, you know. So I guess it's very crucial to start from an early age. If you want, like, of course you can still work on adults, but if you want a real change, you should again aim for the long term. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, if these kids are active now, they're you know, you're gonna have a country full of active adults 10 15 years from now. Okay, go.
We've got facilities, right? The facilities here in Qatar are just perfect for everything. The parks, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah,
All
but
we've got
as Paul said, it's not about he says not like it's not about how fancy the science is or even the facilities are. It's about creating an interest. I know like as we have so many facilities that like we are fortunate to have that because so many countries don't have this availability.
Yeah.
You can run anywhere, you can cycle anywhere, you can swim in most places. So like we've got access to so many facilities. But it's you can have the best facilities in the world, but still, if the mindset is not right, nobody's gonna use it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So actually, I talked to people, and most people are surprised to know. Oh, I can actually go and run there. I can go and swim there. Like yeah, it's 5 minutes from your house.
Yeah,
You know
and
what I'm
it's
saying?
free. There's so much free stuff to do.
It's free.
Yeah,
I don't have to pay to do anything. I don't have to pay to run, to cycle, to swim. It's all free.
Yeah.
So it's like you have the facilities, but you need to create the mindset and the interest.
Exactly. I mean, I do really feel like the country here are trying so hard because we have a designated day off for sports. Like sports day is insane. It's brilliant. And, phase 1 and phase 2 is prioritise sports and activity as part of easing of the lockdown. So really interested in doing this and, lots of other places. And it just needs another push. I think we all need to come on and kind of get together and push a bit more.
I think it falls upon people like us, I guess, to do that, like to talk about what we do, to show people that what is available, what they can use, where they can go, and to lead by example, because when you do something like that, people hear about it. This is how you engage the community. Look at the cycling track now. The one along the Al Khor Highway. In the beginning, nobody knew about it, and now it's almost busy all the time. 24/7. So yeah, I think leading by example, like when you go out there and do your thing, and people see you, people talk to you, try to get people engaged in communities like DBRC Tri Club, like all the other communities that we know. I think it's for like the government created the facilities, but it's upon us to actually connect people to the facilities. Yeah,
totally agree with you. Absolutely. Yeah.
You're brilliant. Honestly, what you've just said there, all of you, is brilliant. And Dr. Mafood has just looked up and said that we could go out to his sports lab when it opens in September and run a podcast from there. And I'll tell you why I'm bringing that up now is because we've got, as what we've started here, we started a podcast, it's for sports, right? And it's really important that we're getting a message out to people, in which we are, and it's getting out there. 36,000 views that we got last week, so it's getting out there. So what we've got to do, and this is a responsibility that I see us to do, is once this virus thing, this COVID-19 is finished, or it's gone and everybody's starting to mix, what we need to do is just keep on bringing people together, get that social aspect back into the game. My only fear is that we're going too much into esports. Everybody, because of this now, is going the esports way. That worries me.
Yeah,
I want that to be the case. We need to get active, because being active, I feel so much better for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It makes all the difference. Yeah.
What's all of your feelings, Paul? I'll start with you. What's your feeling? What scares? Does it scare you, or do you think it's going to be a happy mix?
For me, actually, I'm biased because my pops basically never allowed me to play computer games, and I'm sat here, my son is trying to say, "Oh, how do you play this?" And I'm like, I haven't got a clue. So I've just been. I don't have any passion. Like, I had friends in the UK who were like 40, 39. They come back home from work and at the weekend they sat in front of a computer screen. I can't think of anything worse. I could see the benefits of, like, if you play strategic games or if you play Minecraft, I could see it, but I just don't have the draw to it at all. Like, our kids, we would rather they're running around on a compound, or we are out with them. Like this evening, we're going to be doing the eldest one, he does half an hour run. So we start off with the 3 of us around the compound. It's about 800 meters. So the youngest one, 3 years old, he does 1 lap. Then Nora, who is 6, does 2 more laps where the pace picks up. And then when she goes in, Mika does another 2 laps. He's 8. So he ends up being on his feet for 20 odd minutes non-stop. And they love it. And we just, other days we'll throw balls around, or indoors we'll set up like a little training circuit. I just think this, you can't beat that because you feel so much better and they feel lighter. They're running around there on their bikes than to stay indoors and play computer. I don't get it. I genuinely don't get it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
not at all into it
Islam,
at all.
you're shaking your head. You're not into it at all because you're at an age, Islam. You're still really young. Are you into
He's
it?
a baby.
well, I'm 20. I'm 28 at the moment. But,
Baby.
Point out your grades.
So, I'm 28 at the moment, but then what I do is, of course, like games and stuff like that are kind of attractive to me. But what I do is I fill my day with stuff that actually I know that gonna benefit me in the long term and stuff that I want, I genuinely want to do. Because if it's very easy if you're sitting at home all the time, you know, you don't have nothing, you don't have your hands full, you know, it's easy to just like watch Netflix and for 5 hours, you know, the time just flies, you know. So what I do is like I'm training my own clients. I'm doing my admin work. I'm doing my own training. So by the end of the day, even if I have 1 or 2 hours, I can't even bother watching Netflix or like, you know, I just need to chill because I got another busy day tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to things like that, I think it's of course like a huge responsibility falls on the parents, because if you can't like be sitting at home all the time or like not doing any kind of physical activities, you know, and hanging out with your own friends all the time, going shopping and doing all of that, and then expect your kids to be active. Of course, you're gonna have fat kids and kids that can support their own self. You know what I'm saying? No responsibility, zero responsibility falls on the kids. 100% of the responsibility falls on the parents.
Absolutely.
You know,
Well,
so I don't blame the kids at all. The kids are a product of what you put into their minds. And if you put video games when they're 20 years old, they have no interest in sport or any self-development whatsoever.
We had Abood on the phone on the podcast the other week. Did you see Abood? And he was as a young. It was a brilliant show. I so enjoyed it, and especially his message, because I don't plan any questions. And he said that he was overweight as a child, and there was just a few things that actually got him involved, and he gave a really, really powerful lesson on what parents should be doing with their kids. So if you want to listen to one of the podcasts, go back and listen to it, because it was fascinating what he was saying. And Karen, I'm going to come on to you because I know that you haven't got time to play any computer games. You've done 111. What was your bike ride you did this morning? And you got kids.
Thank you. I know. I'm that really annoying mum. I have like a restless leg. I never stop and sit still. So I drive everyone crazy in my house. Like I get home, I did 101 kilometers this morning, and then I come and clean the house and I'm baking and I just don't stop. I can't. But yeah, sorry, I've forgotten the question. sorry.
You don't, and I know that you don't play any computer games without a shadow of doubt.
I'm like Paul. I can't. If they ask me, because they have a little bit of computer time. It's the middle of summer, we're in COVID, so we've had them a little bit of Lego computer games. But in the morning, in the afternoon, they are out on their bikes. You know, we're out playing ball. They've got a huge trampoline, so there's enough activity in the house for now. During the winter, it's all changed. There'll be no computers, and they'll be constantly, busy. But if they ask me to change their avatar, I've got no idea. So sorry, you have to stay as Spider-Man.
So it really is. It's what we've got to do. And again, my kids are all grown up now, so I'm quite lucky. But you've got to keep them active, right? You've got to get them involved in something. You've got to and that's what Abood was saying. Get them involved with friends that have a different lifestyle, so that they're going out and they are spending time doing activities.
Yeah.
And that comes back to you guys.
Environment is everything. Environment is everything. You know, like you go out there, you see everybody, they're playing video games and shopping and all of that. It won't even come to you that you need to do something. You feel like this is normal. Why would I change? Life is good this way.
Yeah, and it's easy to get into that way. Let's not take anything away. And once you get into that slippery slope, you're on a downward spiral. It is a difficult one to get out of.
Absolutely.
It's been, and I'm so sorry today that it's kind of, I can't believe how quickly it's gone today. But it's an absolute fascinating show. I do want to say that we will go and do this podcast with Dr. Mahfood, so that all three of you make sure that we get it for the diary. And I do want to say to you, I want to thank you all for what you're doing with the community. And I'm hoping that I'm seeing all three of you on the front of my screen now. And we spoke about this before and the different activities that we're going to be trying to do. We've got companies that want to come over that's got these great games. We've got companies that want to get involved. We've got street soccer. We've got people like yourselves. We've got to make the difference. And the facilities are out there. What we've got to do is take advantage. And that's what I think us three are going to be doing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on the show. And Paul, it's great that everybody's seen you this time because we only had you.
Paul, it's good to see you, man.
A voice.
You need to join. You need to join our 4 a.m. runs.
I'm the nanny. We don't have a nanny, so literally I need to stay behind.
Excuses.
It's so tremendous. What I'm listening to here is you laughing and joking and talking about these things. I can't wait for this virus to finish and we can all get back out there and we can go triathlon, running and swimming. I can't wait. Thank you so much for this week. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Tomorrow we have a wonderful guest and it's going to be really exciting for me. I'm already feeling nervous about it. We've got Mr. Saji, that's the president for the FA in Delhi. He's got a job to do where I put on one of the adverts that India has the potential of dominating football. They should do. They've got the nation behind them. So what has he got to do? I'm going to be asking him what he's going to do. What is he doing to try and get more people encouraged into football and get them away from cricket, and how big a task that's going to be. It's going to be fascinating. So tomorrow, 2:15, he's going to be on the show all the way from Delhi in India. So, guys, again, thank you very much for the show today. It's been a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you so much, Adina. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Bye for now. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.